Hello, everyone. I was muted. Thank you so much for joining us today and joining us on our Kansas City panel. For everyone joining, my name is Carson Eidelman. I work for the Mizzou Alumni Association as coordinator of alumni and student programs. Today, we're going to feature some outstanding young alumni from the Kansas City area, and we thank them again for attending and all of their wise advice they'll be bestowing upon us. So if you have any questions during our time today, please add them to the box directly below the stream. And if you submitted a question when you registered, we already have that, and we'll be asking them later. Now, let's go ahead and introduce our lovely panelists. First up, we have Andrew Barber, a LinkedIn sales strategist and founder of Create Positively. Andrew graduated from Mizzou in 2012 with a degree in health sciences and a minor in business. He grew up in central Illinois and made the leap to Kansas City and spent 15 years in sales and marketing. He now runs Create Positively, a LinkedIn sales enablement business built on the same thing that helped him find his footing in a new city, turning your network into real opportunities. Proof that your career doesn't have to follow a straight line from your major. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Next up, we have Mia Hollander. After graduating from Mizzou in 2024, Mia started her career with Sporting KC as a member of their 2024 intern class. At the end of the 3-month program, Mia applied for a full-time role as a sales associate in the ticketing department. Now, a year later, Mia was promoted to an account executive role specializing in group experiences. In this role, Mia helps plan, execute all of Sporting's theme nights, group outings for youth soccer teams and schools, and so much more. Welcome, Mia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Finally, yes, finally, we have Lexi Simons. Lexi is a Kansas City native and a 2023 Mizzou graduate with a Bachelor of Journalism and emphasis in public relations. Following graduation, Lexi completed an internship at Trozzolo Communications Group, where she still works now as a senior public relations account executive. Outside of her 9 to 5, Lexi also serves as the networking director for the KC Ad Club and the Kansas City chapter of the American Advertising Association. Welcome, Lexi.
Hi, thanks for having me. So excited.
Yes, thank you guys. We're very excited, and now that you know about each of these lovely panelists, we'll go ahead and get into some of our first questions. So to start off, again, we're all based in Kansas City. So what made each of you decide to move to your current location? And did a job opportunity come first, or was it really the want and desire to be in Kansas City that brought you there?
I'll take it. I moved to Kansas City because I was from a small town in Illinois and I wasn't going back there. St. Louis seemed somehow too familiar, even though I wasn't from there. I knew a lot of folks, and Kansas City seemed like a good place to kind of build a new network. I don't know. I'd not spent a whole lot of time here, honestly, but I had maybe an interview, 2 tops lined up. Definitely no actual job, and but that was priority number 1. I moved here and started looking.
Nice.
I can go next. I'm actually from Kansas City, but on the Kansas side, very south. So when I was a senior, was like, I'm not moving back to Kansas City. I want to go live somewhere else and do all these crazy things. So I interviewed basically everywhere but here. But then I was a part of AAF, and we did some agency tours in Kansas City, and I fell in love with Trozzolo when I was there. And then that opportunity kind of just fell in my lap. And now I live on the Missouri side, on the plaza, and it is a completely different city than what I grew up in. And I'm in love with it more and more every day. So.
Yeah, I kind of have, I would say job and people are kind of the reason that I'm here. So as everyone probably knows, there's a strong population of people from Kansas City at Mizzou. And that was kind of the support system that I built while I was over there in Columbia. A lot of people from Kansas City that were coming back here. And I knew, coming out of graduation, it's a crazy transition and it's a stressful transition and you never know what to expect. And I wanted to be around the people that I knew were going to support me. So I was looking other places, but primarily Kansas City for that reason. And then I saw a great opportunity for an internship and I kind of grabbed at it when I could.
That's awesome. It's awesome to hear both sides too, of people who are from Kansas City originally and maybe don't want to move back there but fell back in love with it too. So it's great to hear both ends of the spectrum. We can move into our next question too. This is really about building community, networking. So if you guys have any tips on how to build community, whether that's through your role or outside of work, we'd love to hear it.
I can kick off with this one primarily because I currently serve as the networking director for KC Ad Club. And that is an awesome opportunity, especially for young grads or even people who are still in school and are home for break or something. We have monthly ad hops is what they're called. And they're basically happy hours at various locations across the Kansas City metro. And it's a great opportunity to network with people. And you don't even have to be in an ad agency. We have, law firms, we have technology businesses. So it's really just anyone in the Kansas City area. So I strongly recommend looking into that and seeing any of our upcoming events. That's a great way to get involved. But outside of that, it's really just not being afraid to go out of your comfort zone a little bit and meet people via social media or even through your job, or like Mia said, friends that you've made at Mizzou. Those are always great connections as well.
Yeah, I would second what Lexi said in terms of don't be afraid to get outside your comfort zone. I mean, you can use social media. I am a proponent of LinkedIn, if anybody was curious. But your mindset's gonna make all that happen for you. Wherever you go, if you got the mindset towards meeting somebody new, asking a new question, being curious, that's how you're going to build community, regardless of what group you find or don't find, right? Like, I would definitely suggest finding some sort of group or somewhere to be active with other folks. It's going to be the easiest place to have a conversation with other folks. It's where they are. So I would say mindset was a big shift for me because I went from a studio apartment doing a 1099 job in sales to working in radio advertising where everybody was, and there was a lot of conversation to be had. So that would be my best bet.
Yeah, I work thankfully for like helping with the transition. I work with a lot of people that are young and around my age, and also recent graduates. So really, again, getting out of your comfort zone, throwing yourself into the groups that are already set up for you. Like I spent a lot of time really getting to know my coworkers and my coworkers' friends and people that already have those networks built. I also, again, like it's great to network with the people that you already know because they know people you also don't know. But yeah, throwing yourself into the communities that are already right in front of you can be the most obvious answer, but it can also lead to the best connections. I mean, you already know that you have a shared interest, and you can really build on that.
Nice. An easy way to do that too is we have a pretty robust Kansas City alumni chapter too. So we do some events for young alumni specifically, but also just Kansas City events. So we always host watch parties in Kansas City for a lot of Mizzou games too. So that's a great way if you're moving to everyone going there, you already have a connection with them. They're all Tigers. So if you are moving to Kansas City, a great way to meet people as well. But yes. Our next question too is all about housing. So if you guys have any recommendations on finding housing, areas to living in Kansas City, anything people should search for when they're finding housing, or anything to kind of keep an eye out specific to Kansas City or just moving in general as a first real apartment or kind of relocating to Kansas City as well. If anybody has any specific locations they would recommend too.
I can definitely jump in with this one. Like Lexi said, I also live on the plaza, and it is I'll say this time and time. I love it. It's super close to great shopping, grocery stores, anything that you might need. And then I live with roommates, and I think that there is something to be said about if you're moving to a new city. Both of my roommates also went to Mizzou. They're friends of friends that I met through Mizzou. And so it's great that we all kind of jumped in this together. And there's something to be said about still being young, right out of graduation. You're used to the college lifestyle and still living with like-minded people that are going through the same thing as you. I think me personally, I would do it as long as I possibly can. I know living with roommates isn't for everyone, but we love it. And I think it's a great thing to do, especially right out of graduation.
Yeah, I can go next. This question's kind of twofold, and I know not everyone has the luxury of living with their parents if they're planning to move to Kansas City, but I lived at home for about a year and a half, and I think that was a great option at first too, just to save some money before you go out into the real world, because that can always be challenging as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I live on the plaza, and there's just some great options, especially if you're younger. I feel like it's just a great walkable area. I also live with a roommate who's a friend of a friend from Mizzou, and I definitely recommend doing that. Not only does it help save money on rent, but it's also fun to have someone to come home to and kind of just share your experiences so you don't feel alone in the new transition.
I had a different experience finding housing. I probably underplayed it earlier. I came to Kansas City one time before I moved here. I went to a Royals game, and that was as far as I got. So I didn't even make it to the city. I was lucky enough to have a friend here who did a little bit of research for me in terms of visiting some of the apartment complexes and things like that. But my goal was really to just be kind of centrally located, or at least as close as I could be, affordably. I didn't have roommates. I had some fraternity brothers that were around town, but they'd all been kind of established and found things already. So when I moved here, the goal was be central and somewhat close to a highway. And if you can manage that, you can get anywhere in 20 minutes. It's pretty easy to get around the city. That said, I live in Mission, Kansas, which is only about 10 minutes from the plaza, and I can speak highly of this area. I like it.
I think the other great thing about Kansas City too is, like you said, Andrew, there's really not like a bad place to live. Everything is like a 10 to 15 minute drive from each other. Everywhere has its quirks. There's good restaurants, bars, coffee shops, and you can hop on the highway and get anywhere in about 20 and 25 minutes. So I think that too makes it great, because you don't feel like you're pigeonholed if you were to move somewhere and then you're too far from a friend's house or this restaurant you really want to try. It's all pretty central, which is nice.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Besides the fact that you're in Kansas, we don't like that state too much, but we'll let it slide, Andrew, because you're here. But no, that's great advice, and that it's plenty of options in Kansas City. It doesn't sound like you can pick a bad place to live. So thank you guys for that. Additionally, when you moved to Kansas City, was there anything that was kind of challenging or unexpected to adjust to, especially some of our more recent grads too? If you have any advice for just living on your own, this is your first time. You're kind of, obviously college, you're on your own, but a little bit different when you are an actual adult with responsibilities too.
Well, coming off of your comment most recently, definitely, and I remember this vividly, the most unexpected, because I guess I never realized how close Lawrence is to Kansas City, but there is so much crimson and blue. I moved on the Kansas side when I first moved here, reluctantly, and just going to the grocery store, like every end cap had koozies and this and that. I was not ready for it. It has, I think, contributed to part of the fun of living in Kansas City, a little bit of the ribbing back and forth. This is, probably an answer to a later question, but the sports culture here in Kansas City is really unlike pretty much anywhere else. The amount of colleges that are nearby that people are fans of and also have some sort of history together, obviously the championships, it's been a lot of fun. I can't believe I've been here as long as I have been, but from World Series to Super Bowls, it's been pretty fun. So too much crimson and blue. That would be my challenge.
I can go next. I think it wasn't necessarily a challenge moving back here in terms of readjusting to post-grad life with the actual city, but I think just the general transition of being with your friends every day and always having something to look forward to the mundane 9 to 5 was the biggest challenge for me. I'm someone who never says no to anything. So I'm always down for something, and everyone just kind of going, transitioning and having different priorities. We've all always been on the same track our whole lives. We've gone to elementary, middle, high school, and then college, and we're all taking the same courses on the same schedules. And then it's like some of my friends have a job that's like you're a nurse and you're only working some days. Some are doing a trade. Some are getting married and having kids. And it's a very interesting thing where we all used to be here and now we're a little bit like this. And so the biggest challenge for me is like not comparing yourself to others, because I'm going to quote Mel Robbins, of course, but she calls it the great scattering, which is like basically our first few years after graduation, which is everyone is in their own place. And that is a tough pill to swallow. So that is just my biggest advice, is just to not compare yourself to others, because there's no one right path. You're all doing what you're supposed to be doing, just at different times.
Yeah, I will 100% echo everything that you said. And then even to kind of throw something extra on top, of course, never compare yourself to where other people are at. Everyone is on a different path. But also kind of, like you said, in college, in high school, we had these sort of like built-in routines and things that we had to look forward to. And we were all kind of just yes people. And now we're kind of all on like separate routines, and we have to set up our own fun, basically, where, we don't have like maybe a sorority formal to look forward to, or homecoming or Greek week or something like that built in to look forward to. You have to really put yourself out there without having classes and extracurriculars that are going to really be the foundation for how you're going to meet people. You've got to put yourself out there, and it's really uncomfortable, but it can be really fun, especially if you like join groups and do things and network with people that are of like-mindedness. It's uncomfortable, but it can be really fun.
Yeah, that's great advice, Lexi. I feel like I needed to hear that. Me and Lexi graduated the same year, so that was nice to hear from me. You're also echoing a lot of things that we heard from our Denver webinar earlier too. They also said, similar to what you were saying, Mia, be brave. That first time you go out and meet people, it's going to be a little scary, but every time after that gets a little bit easier. So similar to what you all were saying as well too, it can be a little scary at first. And then additionally, this was from the audience. So kind of what we've talked about with going out and trying to create new friendships and new connections. How do you guys strike that balance when you're first moving somewhere, maintaining a healthy routine between your new job or your new city or your new group of friends, while also feeling like you're taking care of yourself too? If you guys have any advice for maintaining work-life balance after graduation as well.
I think number one, and I know this is hard to do when you're just looking for a first job and something to kind of just get your feet wet, but make sure when you're interviewing for positions, you're asking about work-life balance and you're asking about culture. And that's something that you really take into consideration when you are doing your first job search, because I'm still at the same company that I interviewed and interned with a few years ago. And I credit that to the fact that I really did my research in wanting to find somewhere where I know that I could have that proper work-life balance and still have a personal life, but also thrive professionally too. So it's kind of a workaround answer to that question. But I think unfortunately, our lives do revolve a little bit around what you do for a living. So make sure that what you're doing is something that you're passionate about, because then I think that trickles into your friendships, your family, your relationships, your routine, how healthy you feel inside and out. So I would say it starts there.
Yeah. I'll say with that as well, as you can probably imagine, my job does eat up a lot of my weekends as well. Anytime that Sporting KC has a home game, that's my life for the weekend. So I think, like Lexi said, it's super important that you're doing something that you love. I know that as someone who's fresh out of college, it's so easy to just jump at the first opportunity that you see. And that is great. And if it's a fantastic opportunity, I say go for it and try it out. But you need to love a company just as much as they love you. And you're not going to be the asset that you might think that you're going to be to the company if you aren't passionate about it. So luckily for me, I do love my job, and I had the opportunity to try it out as an intern and decide if this is something that I wanted to do long term. But just know that your first job is not going to be probably your last job, and that if you aren't loving it as much as you want to, and if you don't have that work-life balance that you absolutely deserve, then it might not be the job for you, and that's okay. And you don't have to be fully committed to what you're going to do for the rest of your life with the first job you have out of college.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your first job, not your last job. It's okay if it is, if you stick around for however many decades. Like balance for me was really tough up front. I was working in a studio apartment about as big as my office now. So I was walking 10 feet from my bed to the desk and making cold calls, and that was fine. But the balance, or the shift I had to find was a new job. Like I had to find something where I had more social interaction with people. And that was a shift for me. And from that point, the balance for routine, depends on what you're trying to balance, right? Like there's the health side of things physically, there's the mental health side of things, there's the social health. I try to live, I try to keep my life wheel relatively balanced, right? There's like 6 or 7 areas of life that are going to persist throughout your life, whether that's finances, which may or may not be the same as your income, like your job. You have relationships, you have family, you have maybe relief or some religion or some sort of belief system that you stick to. And if any one of those spokes on the life wheel is shorter, you're going to have a bumpy ride. So try and keep them all kind of even, so they're touching the outside wheel and they're full. But I guess the short answer would be like, say yes to the opportunity. There's plenty of time for you to establish a routine. This is you for all intents and purposes, you're still figuring that out. Like college doesn't, your learning doesn't end when you graduate college. So you might be finding out something new.
Yeah. One more thing to add too that just popped up is like your definition of like what fun and doing things too is gonna probably evolve. And so I think too, like in college, everyone's like doing the same thing on Thursday nights, doing the same thing on Fridays, like having game days on Saturdays. And it's like now getting coffee with a friend during the week, or joining a book club, or like taking a workout class with a friend might be the same, fall in the same social category as, getting drinks with a friend too. So I think that your maturity levels and how you want to spend your time and who you want to spend it with will evolve as well. And it doesn't always have to be going out on the weekends too. It can be things that you can work into your 9 to 5 during the week too. So you're not just living for the weekends.
That's great advice, to not just live for the weekend too. Have fun on weekdays as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. That's great advice. Everyone, I feel like I need to take the life wheel and draw my own life wheel now after this too. Make sure my spokes are touching the sides. But yes, and then just in general too, as we're talking about some of the things we like to do outside of work, what has been your favorite thing about Kansas City? If you have food, restaurants, activities, kind of the community, the culture. I know we talked about sports. And then specifically too, we did have somebody request any Prairie Village recommendations. So Mission, Kansas over there, you might have a good handle on that. But if you have any Prairie Village recommendations as well specifically, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, there's some good places to go in Prairie Village in terms of restaurants. It's going to drive me nuts. The French Market is near. I walk over that direction every day. which was, he's like, you can, to Lexi's point, you can weave things in. Things can be, one event can serve two purposes, right? So for me, like figuring out how to balance my health with things was, it's like figure out how to put steps into your work day instead of sitting at a desk or what have you. But yeah, food, those are good. I mean, my favorite restaurant, and it's expensive, but Stock Hill definitely on the plaza is incredible. So, save your money and experience it, once a year or however often you can. It's not a cheap meal, but it's great. I would say, I think since moving here, my favorite part about Kansas City is probably the sports culture. Like I found there's a lot of sports, a lot of music. You can find something to do on a Tuesday. And if you can't, you're not trying hard enough. So I would say those are my favorites. I can get into more food and I could talk for hours.
Yeah, I second that. I am a huge foodie and I love trying new spots. We also have amazing, in addition to restaurants, just like bars and entertainment spaces. And I think that was a surprise for me living on the Kansas side growing up. Like, obviously I was not old enough to come down and experience all of these things, but Kansas City is a completely different city, being in your early to late 20s than it was, growing up here. So I think if you are a KC native, don't let, that kind of steer you away, because I have a brother who's a senior at KU, boo, and he is always telling me, he's like, he doesn't know about Kansas. And I'm like, well, you haven't even experienced any of it. Like, there's a whole other world. And so I love that about Kansas City. There's always something going on. And then to echo Andrew, I'm a huge Chiefs fan, a huge Royals fan, obviously a huge Tigers fan. So there's always either, like Carson mentioned, a watch party going on or a get together or even going to the games, which is the best. So those are probably my two favorite things.
Yeah, definitely big sports stuff going on here. Great coffee shops, great spots for happy hours. I would say I'm doing at least a bi-weekly happy hour in the Crossroads or downtown. There's so many great spots and so many people to meet at said happy hours. Nightlife is fantastic if that's something that you're into. Lots of different kinds of workout things. I know I do yoga in Prairie Village, so I'm in Corinth Square a couple times a week, and there's great spots over there if that's something that you're into as well. Like I said, book clubs. If you like to needlepoint, there's needlepoint clubs. There's something for everyone. And yeah, it's so easy to find your niche here, especially if you're just like we all said in social media, looking out for them. There's something for everyone.
Yeah. I think too, we have really great influencers here that literally curate my weekends for me. And I think that's a good starting point if you're not sure, you need restaurant recommendations or things to do. There's some really great ones that can help just kind of give you some starting points and some thought starters. So that's always a place to start. That's where I start when I want to know where I want to go get dinner. So
yeah, it's human verified. You're hearing the review too. Has anybody been? I also have seen that Kansas City recently opened the only overwater entertainment district. Has anybody been to that since it's opened?
Oh, I have not yet, but it was last week, I think.
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but it looks incredible.
I'm on a wait list for a Friday night dinner, so I will let you guys know if I get in. But I think it's going to be great. There's a lot of new development in Kansas City too. I'm sure there's a new news headline almost every week about something that's opening or being developed. And so I think that honestly, the sky's the limit about, where you can live and what we're going to experience.
Speaking of overwater, River Market has completely transformed. There's the current stadium down there. You can go down and catch another soccer game if you don't go out to the Legends. But they've got sand volleyball courts there. They've got sand volleyball courts down in Martin City. You could, there's plenty of places for happy hours and leagues, softball leagues, all that stuff. That's that's been fun.
I'll also say too, Mizzou made business is Chicken and Pickle, based in Kansas City, pickleball place too. And Dave, who founded it, he went to Mizzou, so that's a great connection to have as well too.
Mm-hmm. Chicken and Pickle's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, lots to do in Kansas City. And then something too from the audience that we got before this is one thing you might have wished you knew before you moved. And this can be specific to Kansas City or just in general when you're moving to a new city or finding a new role, or also kind of how we touched about recent graduates as well. But if you have one thing you wish you knew before you moved as well.
Yeah, I could take this one first. I am coming from St. Louis, so I've kind of made my way like across Missouri a little bit, and I was pretty worried that Kansas City was going to be a lot like St. Louis. I mean, I feel like just about every graduate is kind of craving something new, and wanting to be independent and do something different off the beaten path for them. And I was like, what's the point of moving to Kansas City? It's going to be the same as St. Louis, but it's so different. Not only because it's just a different city, but it's also just like it's living on your own. And it's just a whole different vibe of kind of what Lexi said, like being an adult. It's a whole different experience living in a city, even if it's super similar to where you grew up or the same place that you grew up. Being an adult in a city is a completely different experience than being a kid or a young adult. And yeah, I think I was so worried that Kansas City was going to be such a mundane thing to do and something that every other graduate is doing, and it's just going to be college or high school or growing up all over again, and it's just not. And you meet so many different people, and your perspective just completely changes.
Yeah. I think the hard truth too is like it's expensive to kind of, when you're first starting out, you probably don't have a steady income from school. So you're kind of starting from ground zero, and living and taking care of yourself is expensive. And so I think too, like trying to, like, my recommendation is not just getting an apartment or a place, just because it's what your friends are doing, or like really think about that piece too. And I would tour a couple spots, and make sure like it's not 3/4 of your paycheck, your rent, because I think some that's not something that we think about necessarily. And you don't want to limit yourself from having other experiences because all of your money from your paycheck's going to your rent. So trying to figure out, a balance there, for at least for your first year out, and might not be your most favorite apartment you've ever lived in or best house. But I think just getting started and going somewhere in a location that you feel safe and is accessible, then you can kind of upgrade as you move on too.
Yeah. And if you move to the city without a job, finding something that doesn't eat up your whole paycheck is easier to do. You can find you start to stick to the budget a little bit closer. In terms of moving to Kansas City, I don't know if there's anything I wish I knew, but in leaving college, when I was leaving Columbia, I wish somebody had told me that passion is a practice and not a destination. Because as much as you want to find the job or the career or the path or whatever it is that you're going to do for the rest of your life, like right away, the chances that you will are not very good. I just feel like you've got a lot more coming down the pike than you have behind you. So if you don't find the ideal job right now, that's okay. If you can, for lack of a better phrase, put up with it, then you might learn something that helps you in the next job. And that might be learning what you don't like or what you don't want. And that will help you in the future get what you do want. So don't be dead set on determining what your passion or what your purpose is in life. Practice, do some stuff, and it'll come to you. You'll figure it out sooner than later.
That's great advice. Thank you all. I love that too. Passion is a practice. I'm going to write that down. We have one last question as well too. But before you go, if you have any advice in general, whether it's Kansas City specific or about moving, what is one piece of advice you would give somebody moving to Kansas City? Or if you don't want to be Kansas City specific, like I said, feel free to say anything too. But one last thing before we go, anything you'd like to leave them with?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of answered it. But I would like just kind of to recap a little bit. It's like, be curious, say yes, get out of the apartment. Like, if you're moving to a new city, my presumption is that you don't know anybody, and I spent too long in that bubble. Not because I wanted to, but because I was, my job was very limited on social folks, and what you do revolves around, or, how you live revolves around what you do. Like, I think Lexi said that earlier. It's like, for better or for worse. So, if you are in a job that has you working, remotely from your house on a computer, make sure you build time to get out and meet people in real life.
Yeah. I would say, kind of to like wrap it all up in a bow, make choices that are going to be sustainable for your future. That can fall into the relationships category and the social category of like putting yourself out there early on, and knowing that it's never too late to make new friends in life. And then also to build strong connections with your coworkers, because like I said, your first job is likely not your last job. And people are a lot more connected, especially in a city like Kansas City, than you might think that they are. And they could be a great path to a future experience that you're going to have, or a future opportunity that you might have. So build those strong relationships in the office, or if you are working remote, build those strong relationships with people virtually. And then also making sustainable choices with the obvious like expenses. Like, don't, like Lexi said, pick the most expensive housing option that you can because it feels glamorous and luxurious right off the bat. Do something that is going to be helpful for your future and something you can keep up with. But invest in yourself early on, because it's going to pay off.
Yeah, I love that. I think too, my final words are like, you have agency over your own life. So like, you can say yes and no to things that you do and don't want to do. That's the beauty of it. Like, if you don't like what your life is like, then guess what? You can change it, and you can curate what you want your surroundings to be. So I think that's something too that, like I talked about, have always been on the same schedule. We've always had someone to answer to. We've always had kind of like that blueprint of what our life is supposed to look like. But the opportunities are endless in what you can do post-grad. Like, it's completely up to you. So just remember that like, you are the author of your own future and your own destiny. So just make sure you're doing what makes you happy, because that is the bottom line at the end of the day.
Wow. Thank you all so much. I feel much wiser too leaving this as well. I graduated a few years ago, but I feel like I'm learning a lot too. So thank you again to the three of you, Andrew, Mia, and Lexi. It was so great to hear your advice, your experience. I'm sure everybody is enjoying it as well. And anything you have to say about Kansas City, always appreciated too. All those tips and tricks and restaurants as well. And then additionally, before we wrap up today, one last thing. We do have a Mizzou alum career coach who is... Oh, wait, I wanted to put it away. Sorry about that. Has a career launchpad, True You Career Coaching. If you are looking for a job currently, about to graduate, this is going to start pretty soon. So if you're interested at all, we have a QR code for it at the top, or you can always email anyone at the Alumni Association and we'll be able to give you some other information about it. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at maa@mizzou.com. But thank you all again for joining the webinar today, and MIZ.
ZOU.
For you.